Disney World isn't all princesses and pixie dust. Sometimes we make big mistakes and pay the price, sometimes literally. Learn from my embarrassing slip-ups so that you can have a smooth, shame-free Disney World vacation. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, we've certainly all been there. Something happens in a way we didn't intend, and boom, there's a big embarrassing moment we'll be blushing about for years to come. I've certainly spilled enough food on myself trying to take pictures and video to fill an entire memoir. Of course, Disney World is no safe haven from embarrassing events, so we asked the DFB team about their most shameful Disney memories, and here's 8 things we're embarrassed to admit we did in Walt Disney World and how you can learn from our mistakes. First up, had an awkward character encounter. It's embarrassing to admit, but we've had some seriously awkward encounters with Disney characters in the parks. Sometimes it can be weird to interact with a character who can't speak, and even the face characters can be a little intimidating. It's definitely not uncommon to get flustered by Gaston. Avoid those awkward interactions by being prepared when you head to meet a character. Think up some questions you'd want to ask. Maybe ask Mickey about his latest adventure, or Ariel what Flounder is up to these days. The characters will make the experience memorable by doing a great job answering your questions about their stories. Sometimes little ones can be intimidated by the fur characters, especially since they can't speak. So a good way to help warm up kiddos to meeting characters is by spotting them in the parade from a distance first. That way kids can get used to the appearance of the characters. Then when you get up to meet Mickey or another favorite Disney character, have one adult go and greet the character while the little ones hang back. That way they can see that the characters are friends and that they're not scary. Second embarrassing mistake I have made myself is brought my kid on a ride he wasn't ready for and then ruined the day or even the whole trip. So the mistake I made was to have my kid ride Big Thunder Mountain in Disneyland, and I had forgotten that there was real fire in that ride, and the dynamite and the real fire, and he was probably 2 years old. He's a tall kid, so he was able to ride, but he was real little, and when we got off that ride, his little face, he just said, "Mommy, I don't want to ride the fire ride anymore." So after that, he didn't ride anything for like 2 years, so it took us a long time to crawl back from that mistake, from that errors. So be prepared. Don't push your kiddos to ride scarier rides when they're too young. Haunted Mansion can be scary, but so can less obvious rides like Pirates of the Caribbean or Spaceship Earth. If your child is scared of the dark, take that into account before you bring them on one of those dark rides. Spooking youngsters can really put a damper on their whole day and your whole trip. Or in the case of my kid, 3 more years of his life where he refused to ride anything. So make sure you're taking their needs into account when it comes to the rides you chose. Remember, just because they meet the height requirement doesn't mean they're ready. So have them watch a YouTube video of the ride before they ride. Explain any scary or surprising things that may happen before they go, and make sure you get their sign off before riding. A good example here is that my son has a lot of anxiety around things jumping out at him or things he's not prepared to experience, surprises. I don't know where he gets that. That's certainly not from me, ha ha ha. But for example, things like Test Track and Radiator Springs Racers, they both have that section where that big truck kind of honks and turns on their lights really bright right there in the middle. And so I told him about that. I prepared him for that, and he chose not to ride for several years. And then when he was finally ready to ride, he told me he wanted me to tell him when that part was coming up. So we watched a YouTube video so he could see where it was, and then I told him specifically when we were about to come up to that truck so that he was prepared. Now, some kids don't need that level of preparation, and actually that's kind of a hindrance for some kids. So know your kid, know what they're scared of and what they can handle, and prepare them appropriately. All right, number 3, waited in a crazy long line. Speaking of rides, we also totally 100% admit to waiting too long to ride something. Usually waiting more than 30 minutes for a Disney attraction is a bad move. There's so much to see and do in Disney, and taking a full 2 hours of your day to stand in a queue can be a real bummer, but sometimes you just can't help it. That said, do your planning and prep ahead. The obvious one is picking out your fast passes as soon as you can. Now, Flight of Passage passes go quick, so you might miss them, but that still doesn't mean you have to wait 2 full hours. Head to the popular rides at Rope Drop in the morning or right at park close in the evening to try to catch those shorter lines. And remember, staying away from the parks with extra magic hours can actually mean smaller crowds sometimes. Also consider doing an after hours. That way you can ride a lot of those rides without the long waits. Next embarrassing mistake I made, overindulging and getting dehydrated. This is Disney Food Blog. We do a lot of eating. Sometimes that chowing down on delicious food can be dangerous. So yes, there have been 1 or 2 times that a delightful day in Disney has ended with a tummy ache or worse. Portions in Disney World are huge and it can be really easy to overeat, especially with all the tasty options. Plus, a lot of the food at Disney is going to be much more sugary than you're used to at home. So don't forget to take care of your body while you're in the parks. Drink lots of water so that the heat doesn't team up with the sugar to make you sick. I have legit been dehydrated in Disney World and it's awful. You can get free water at quick service spots and Starbucks, don't forget, and find that AC. You can also go to this first aid center and just sit for a little bit and chill. They'll give you some water or some Gatorade or something. Don't be afraid to take a break to digest after those big meals too. Maybe don't plan to ride rock and roller coaster after a big buffet meal. Plus, it's always a good idea to bring along an antacid, just saying. Something else I'm embarrassed to admit I've done and many of our team have done, ignored those safety warnings. You've heard the warnings, hold on to your important items while on rides. Well, things went awry at Magic Kingdom when a member of our team lost her glasses on Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, and I myself have lost sunglasses on Slinky Dog Dash. So always listen to cast members on the rides. A lot of the more zippy rides and coasters have pockets for you to stow important items. If your bag doesn't fit in the pocket, loop it around your leg just in case, and maybe keep a hand on those glasses, especially if you need them to see. You can always file a missing item report with guest services, but avoid losing your stuff on a ride in the first place by paying attention to those warnings. I will usually tuck everything, my phone, my glasses, into zippered pockets on my bag when I ride things like Big Thunder Mountain or Rock and Roller Coaster. And if you do put things in those pockets in front of you on the ride, don't forget to take them out. That's how I lost my sunglasses. Next embarrassing mistake, missed advanced dining reservations and paid the fee. I do this all the time. If you make a reservation through My Disney Experience, there will be a cancellation/no-show fee of $10 per person if you cancel sooner, if you cancel within that cancellation window. Dinner shows like Spirit of Aloha and Hoop-de-Doo Review require you to make your payment in full ahead of time, so be sure to check the cancellation policy on those reservations when you make them. Same thing with Cinderella's Royal Table. Make sure you stay on top of your plans. If they change, adjust things ASAP. Don't leave it for later. You can modify reservations in My Disney Experience, so you may be able to bump up a reservation if you're running late, although the restaurants usually do offer a bit of a grace period. If there's a legitimate reason you can't make the reservation, like someone in your group got sick, contact the restaurant, guest relations, or a cast member at your hotel front desk. They may be able to help you move the reservation to a different day or get that fee reversed. Another embarrassing mistake I admit to making, overspending on minivans. If you're running late to an advanced dining reservation like I usually am, and you don't want to deal with having to change or reschedule, you just want to get over there ASAP, Disney World transportation might not be your best bet. Buses can take a long time, especially in the middle of the day. If you've got somewhere to be, you might want to just get a minivan, even though they can be pretty pricey. Planning ahead can mean big money savings, so if you don't want to shell out that extra cash for a quick ride somewhere, plan to leave yourself plenty of time to get from point A to B. That said, time is money. If you'd rather spend that cash on the minivan to get to the magic sooner instead of waiting 10 million hours for a bus, that's an option too, but just make sure you've got it in your budget. Oh, this is my favorite embarrassing story. Sitting on my bed at midnight, eating a gas station prepackaged sandwich. You never know where your Disney World adventures will take you, and they might take you to 1 a.m. with no food sources available and an empty tummy. I know I talked about this in our video where we talk about how Disney tries to starve you. Plan to have a few snacks or leftovers in your room to cover any late nights or early mornings when food can be hard to come by in Disney World. We've got some tips on where to find food late at night and where you definitely won't find it, but the choices are few and far between. Even if you find something that's open, your choices aren't going to be amazing. That said, the Grand Floridian, Polynesian, and Dolphin resorts all have 24-hour quick service spots with a few decent options, though the menus get seriously pared down after 11 p.m. So plan ahead, have some snacks in your room. Sometimes I'll get a cheese plate at the gift shop and just have it in my refrigerator, so if I get home at midnight and I'm starving, because even though I'm Disney Food Blog and I'm eating all day, I'm just kind of taking a few bites here and there, sharing things with people so that we don't waste too much food. And so by the time I get home, I'm starving. It's weird. But it happens all the time. So I always try to have a little something, but that day I had nothing. So I ended up at the Speedway getting a gas station sub. That's what happened. So So there you go. There are a ton of ways to embarrass yourself at Disney. Don't get stuck in a sticky situation like we have. Be prepared. Head home with only happy memories, not regrets. But I know you guys have made some embarrassing mistakes, or you've done some things you're embarrassed to admit in Disney World. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories too. It'll make us feel better about ourselves. Thanks for listening, you guys, and thanks for watching. This is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.